Namaskar and good morning. Good morning to all the dear participants, students, teachers, principals, and all other distinguished guests. And a special thank you to our judges for taking their time out and being with us today. On behalf of the host school, Sri Sri Academy, Kolkata, and the Literary Committee of the ASISC, West Bengal and Northeast states, I warmly welcome each one of you to the Father George Hess Memorial Literary Events, and specifically to the regional debate finals for the junior category. It is said that words make a man, and the ability to think clearly and articulate your reasons or your arguments in a stance will not only hold our students in good stead in their school life, but even much beyond. In this digital age, there is no place to hide behind public relations people. It requires leaders to be visible and authentic and to be able to communicate the decisions they've made and why they've made them, to be able to acknowledge when they've made a mistake and to move forward and to engage in the debate. So thank you once again for being here, for participating, for supporting, for organizing. And with these words, I wish each participant the very best. Looking forward to a very enjoyable and engrossing debate on a very relevant subject. May the proceedings begin. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. And namaskar once again to everyone present here on behalf of my school. It goes without saying that it gives me immense pleasure and is a matter of great pride to host the ASISC regional debate for the junior category. I extend a warm welcome especially to the participants. Let me remind our participants now about the rules, as those will be displayed on the screen for us. Participants should avoid reading from a previously prepared script, any paper or aid. The speakers who initiate both the motions, I'm talking about team 1, will get 2 extra minutes each to wind up the debate after all the speakers have finished their turn. Each speaker will get 4 minutes to speak, and at the end of the 3rd minute, a warning bell will be rung. The final bell will be sounded at the end of the 4th minute. Timing will start as soon as the participants start speaking. Speaking for less than 3 minutes and more than 4 minutes will entail a deduction of 5 marks by each judge. Now here is the criteria for which you will be marked. Content 20, delivery, that includes your style, fluency, clarity, and poise, 20, overall impact 10, so the total comes to 50. Before I move on to introduce our judges, just once again for the first 2 participants from team 1, at the end, you will be getting 2 minutes and not 4 minutes when you are summing up. Now we come to our first judge for the event, Ms. Priti Roy Chaudhary from Calcutta International School. Ma'am has been an educator for 24 years and is currently the head of the Department of English at Calcutta International School. She has co-authored books for school children with HarperCollins in English. She also published a compendium of word and image on the inside stories of Calcutta in a book called Soul City. She is a travel and photography enthusiast as well. We are so glad, ma'am, to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Now I move on to our second judge for the day, Ms. Ritisha Ghosh from Petite Girls High School, Mumbai. Ms. Dhar completed her education from Loreto School and College, Kolkata, and University of Calcutta. She has been in this profession for 24 years and is presently the head of the Department of English and Social Studies in her school. She is also the academic coordinator. She has been the English examiner for literature and an examination supervisor at ICSE level. Music is one of her passions and she holds a diploma in Ravindra Sangeet. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Now, I move on to the last, but not the least, the third judge for the day, Ms. Sangeeta Ghosh from Mahadevi Birla World Academy. Ma'am has been the senior English teacher in her school since 2009. She has been teaching for 21 years and had been the academic coordinator at Mayur School, Ajmer. She has worked in schools under Jindal Group and also the Mayo College General Council. She is a British Council ambassador as well as assessor, felicitator, and coordinator of international activities in schools. She orchestrates school student exchange programs too. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us. Now, the topic, the motion that we all are waiting for. Here it comes on the screen. Feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. I repeat, feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. Without further ado, I would like to move on to the first participant from Team A speaking for the motion, Ruhin Talukdar.
Thank you. Good morning, respected chairperson, my fellow debaters. The motion for today is feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century, and I, Ruhin Talukdar, stand for this topic. We must keep in mind that feminism means equal rights for both men and women. 150 years or so in the past, the ideology of feminism, which was concentrated on more of advocacy of human rights, was maybe valid and needed even. But now in the 21st century, modern perception of feminism is irrelevant and illogical. Modern feminism has neglected the core ideology at large. The future is female. Hillary Clinton stated this as a part of her campaign. However, MNCs have used the slogan to make feminism more palatable and had their businesses booming with thousands of merchandise having that slogan. In the midst of all this, the main reason behind the slogan, that is focusing our attention to oppressed and poor fighting and fighting for equal rights for poor, was lost. In 2020 statistics, in that point of time, where there was a point of time where 70% of hashtag feminism content had the main focus on matters like normalizing body hair, body positivity, etc., etc. However, in a country like India, where 80% of the women do not have access to basic facilities, these problems should have taken a back step. In modern society, feminism aims at targeting the society's perception of how men and women should be. If the society wants men and women to be treated equally, it needs to challenge the gender stereotypes which were formed due to preconceived ideas and opinions. Let me evaluate on that. If a society wants to establish equal rights, they should stop categorizing certain jobs as inferior. For example, in a society, the job of a male dancer, a male caregiver, in a male working in a female-dominant occupation was given the same importance as a soldier fighting for our country. Then the question of inequality in terms of importance wouldn't have arisen. Feminism wouldn't be relevant there. Vendetta against men. Women have started using the rights made for their personal safety as methods to settle personal vendettas. Not just that, there are several cases of domestic violence, not on women, but on men. And these cases were basically women lying about the assault and using feminism as a tool. Lastly, as conclusion, I would like to add one last point, which is focus of individuals and not on institutions. So an individual does something wrong, all the attention goes into that one particular person. But there's institutions who are, encouraging the segregation of males and females, and et cetera, and that is not right. So as conclusion, I would like to remind all of you about my claim and argument, which is I do agree that feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruhin. Now I move on to Ritisha Khan from Team 1, who will be speaking against the motion. Ritisha?
Yes, ma'am. Let me ask all of you present here a few questions. What comes to your mind when I ask you to visualize a doctor, a nurse, now an entrepreneur, a chef, and a person who cooks for the house? How many of you visualized a man as a doctor, a woman as a nurse, a man as an entrepreneur, a woman as someone who cooks for the house, and a man as the chef? If you visualize that, then feminism is still relevant and it is here to stay. Good morning, respected chairperson and everyone here. Today, I, Ritisha Khan, strongly stand against the motion that feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. Irrelevant means something minor, something insignificant. If we say that because we have progressed a lot and women have rights now, that is why we do not require feminism, it is like saying that the African Americans or the Dalits in India were treated miserably ages ago. They don't need to fight for their rights now. Feminism is not just about women's rights, it's about the daily life. It is about keeping the bill in the center of the table rather than giving it to the man. It is about paying the woman the same remuneration for the same work that the man does. It is about thinking of a man and a woman when we think about a businessman or when we think about a chef. It is about blaming both the parents and not just one when the kid does something wrong. Now, the Oxford states that feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of equality of the sexes. Feminism is equality. The topic that states feminism is irrelevant now indirectly states equality is irrelevant. Because it's the 21st century, we all got gender equality, right? That is why the topic is stating feminism is irrelevant. Now, respected chairperson, let me bring some thoughts, some examples that shows how much equality we've got in the 21st century. In this country of Mother India, there are 87 rape cases every single day. There was a rise in 7% in the crime against women from 2018 to 2019 to 405,861 registered cases. All these crimes show dominance of the male gender over the female. Let me remind you again, even in this so-called modern 21st century, there was a rise of 7% and not a fall. Even now in the tea gardens of India, women are paid half of what the man is paid. Even though some might talk about pseudo-feminism, let me remind you that the motion today is about feminism and it is unfair to mislead the House. Also, pseudo-feminism is a sham. It took us 75 years to see only a 14% representation of women in the parliament. Even today, this society has female feticide, infanticide, dowry. We have all watched the news about the brutalities that the women are facing in Afghanistan in the 21st century. And after all of this, the House raises the motion today that feminism is irrelevant. Therefore, as long as the equality ratio is 50-50 and not even 49.5, feminism is relevant and the motion needs to be withdrawn. Thank you.
That was Ritika Khan for us, very firmly putting forward her opinion as to why feminism cannot be irrelevant. I move on to Team 2, and the speaker for the motion is Divit Vanjani. Divit, over to you.
Good morning, ma'am. Am I visible and audible?
You are, Divit.
Okay.
Please carry on.
Good morning, everyone. I firmly support the motion today. I believe that feminism is a broad range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies that aim to define and establish the equality of sexes across economic, political, and social spheres. It's about ensuring that all the women in the world, the diversity of women, have the same opportunities as men. However, I hold this motion and the topic feminism as highly subjective. There are various interpretations of it. On one hand, there are people across so many nations who support abortion, but there are many also who don't. There are some women who are in favor of prostitution. On the other hand, there are several who are completely against it. I believe that there isn't a comprehensive definition given by some organization and agreed by 10% of women throughout the world till date because of no concrete definition and discrepancies in thoughts. Now, many may argue that feminism is still relevant till date because people are having so many protests and movements. But I believe that the motion mentions 21st century clearly, and this motion isn't relevant in the 21st century because I've gone through a survey by a BBC which has mentioned that feminist movements have gained so much of popularity in Europe and North America, yet there are many young women who say that they do not identify themselves with the term feminism. Fewer than 20% of women would call themselves a feminist. Why is this? Because I believe that feminism is just irrelevant. Crimes have decreased in our society, and to prove this, I would like to state the NRCB report, which has surveyed crimes in India before 2015 and said that the cases of crimes against women during the year 2015 and later have decreased by 3.1% since the previous year. Doesn't this imply that women equality is slowly improving in India? Today, our country is proud of women like PV Sindhu, who have won bronze and silver medals in Olympics. Mirabai Chandu and Lavlina Boghain also did quite well. Had feminism been prevalent and had issues been prevalent, then they wouldn't have been allowed to perform such things. We live in a world where women play important role in defense. You can just imagine women have been allowed to write examinations like the NDA. Pilots and have even led our missions like Kalpana Chawla, who led our mission in space. I believe that the women of today are no longer in a caged bird when they were dominated by men, and they're the free birds who show the way to fly. Sati was abolished by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. The seeds were sown back way then, and today we see the fruition giving goodness to our society. This is exactly why the statement is a harsh truth in the 21st century. But that doesn't mean that the topic feminism is truly irrelevant. This motion only mentions the 21st century. We need to even look at the 20th century and the 19th and even times before that. Crime rates were so much higher then. There were women who were forced into things. Wikipedia mentioned that so many native African American women were forced to be slaves before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. Don't you think that the situation is much better today? I still believe that feminism is so subjective, but we can just see how respected women are in places such as Manipur, where women didn't play an important role in the 19th or 20th century, but today their collective power is so much that they get all the rights of visiting the market, going outside, and has considered the force behind the upliftment of Manipur society more than the men. This just shows us how crime rates have gone down. Isn't this a proud moment for our country? Conclusion. In conclusion, I would like to say that the women of today have been successfully able to convey this message. A man who treats a woman like a princess has been raised in the arms of a queen. Esteemed audience, these are the women of today, fearless and independent, which will become the princesses of tomorrow. That is why I believe that feminism is so irrelevant nowadays. Thank you.
Thank you, Divit. That was Divit Banjani speaking for the motion. I move on to Riddhi Dattagupta from the very same team, that's team 2, speaking against the motion. Riddhi, over to you.
Good morning, ma'am. Am I visible and audible?
You are visible and audible. Please begin.
Thank you, ma'am. The able opposition have tried very well to convince how irrelevant feminism is in the 21st century. I say that it's extremely privileged to even assume that we, the privileged people who sit in the comfort of our luxurious houses with our opinions voiced and heard, are able to actually define a term like feminism for all. We sit here discussing declines in crime rates while most crimes are not even registered. What about the 70% of women of the third world countries who are sexually assaulted even before teenage? What about the 33% girls who become child brides every day? What about the hundreds of men who are serving their punishment for a crime they never committed? What about the millions of transgenders in India who are still wandering for a gender certificate? These facts are not my self-proclaimed ones, rather verified by the UN. Unlike what the proposition says, there is one common definition for feminism, and that resonates with the idealism of humanism. According to a famous article by Forbes, feminism is the ideology and movement that all genders should be granted equal rights in all aspects. That is a proper definition, even if people cannot agree with it, because it welcomes everybody, it helps everybody, it supports everybody, irrespective of who they are and what the human being should do. In the 21st century, compassion has become a matter of bias, and feminism, proper feminism, seeks to remove that. There is a definition. There are not many who know it properly, like the proposition. Pseudo-feminists are not feminists. Feminists who hate on trans people are not feminists. It's simple. They go against the principal ideas of respecting and acknowledging every human being. So if they are not true feminists and only external agents sent to change a beautiful movement, how can you say that feminism is irrelevant? What is irrelevant is these unwanted elements. The major problem is our half knowledge on the topic. There is a term in psychology called Dunning-Kruger's effect. The research proves that people often tend to know it all about something, while in reality, they are only aware of a small deceiving portion of the entire truth. The opposition here might be a case of that. Gender inequality is well documented within the United Nations, stating that women and girls suffer discrimination and gender-specific violence in every part of the world. Men are victims of patriarchy, with horrible statistics of just 1% of the total number of rape charges against them being valid. LGBTQ communities are persecuted, insecure about even their basic identity. There has been no improvement. Nothing has changed. We are probably in the worst era on the planet, and thus feminism is relevant. The viral video of a woman in Lucknow who was crossing the road and slapped a male cab driver has once again triggered feminism bashing on social media. Several users, especially men, have blamed feminists for the incident, although the ideology has nothing to do with it. And this isn't the first time. Whenever a woman behaves badly or commits a crime, feminists are blamed for it, as if the misbehavior of one woman invalidates the feminist struggle in a patriarchal society. Where are the feminists, goes the cry whenever such incidents come to light. Misogynists are quick to use such acts to claim that there is no truth to the feminism cause, since men and women are not only equal, women are oppressing men. Feminism is an ideology, does not claim that women are angels or always victims. To the contrary, feminism argues against placing women on a higher moral pedestal than men and recognizes women's agency to think and act for themselves. The feminism is for all genders. Feminism's fight is against patriarchy. There's a lot more to it than the simplistic and wrong assumptions floating around on social media. It's time we cut our ignorance and finally recognize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Riddhi. We move on to team 3, and speaking for the motion is Srijita Ghosh. Srijita, over to you.
Am I audible and visible?
You are audible and visible. You can begin.
According to the G.D. Anderson, a famous feminist, feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives their strength. I firmly agree to this. Ask any woman these days if she's a feminist, and the answer will often be a wrinkled nose and a shake of the head. For many women living in the 21st century, feminism can actually feel irrelevant. On that note, greetings to one and all present here. I'm Srijita Ghosh, and I guess you all have already understood that I'm speaking for the motion in House today. Feminism. It is the belief in full social, economical, and political equality of women. Feminism largely arose in response to Western traditions that restricted the rights of women, but feminist thought has global manifestations and variations. In the 21st century, where all women have the right to vote, right to education, it is well accepted that the fight for women's rights or for gender equality has come to an end, and the battle has now been won. As compared to the last 100 years, the position of women in the society has risen from only being confined to the kitchen and taking care of the family to being educated and doing flexible jobs or even fighting for the nation. Issues such as sexualization of young girls, domestic violence, gender pay gap, birth control is enough to address why feminism is not just an issue or a simple movement, or why it is the right of one gender against the other. You see, that's the point of feminism in the 21st century, putting one gender against the other. But wasn't it supposed to mean working towards achieving global gender equality? Or also on the other side, false rape cases, domestic violence charges, assault, or in any way taking advantage of the rights provided to women for safeguarding their rights. Is that feminism? Or is that what feminism is relevant for? Keep that aside and take into account this real example. My opponent already stated about this example, but I want to clarify a few things. Just few days back, we saw a viral video of a woman physically abusing a cab driver in the middle of the road for no reason at all. But later, that same woman had falsely claimed to be abused by the driver and a group of men, while we clearly can deny that fact on seeing the video. Isn't this crystal clear that this is the misuse of powers in the name of feminism or just being female? This is why feminism is just irrelevant standing in the 21st century. While it is true that I am sitting here at an equal part to the males of the society and doing this debate because of feminist rationalizing thoughts, this fact is surpassed by the fact that now feminism is just a mere veil to cover and promote gender inequality where men are considered our enemies and transgender women are considered impure. Thus, I would like to conclude with a quote by eminent British actress Emma Watson. It is time we all see gender as a spectrum instead of two sets of opposite ideals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srijita. That was Ritisha Ghosh speaking for the motion. We move on to Tirth Deora from the very same team, Team 3, speaking against the motion. Tirth, over
Ma'am,
to
am
you.
I visible and audible?
Yes, you can begin.
Once, Mary Stonewallcraft said that women are as good as men. Just give them a chance and they will walk matching their shoulders with the men. Good morning to one and all. I'm Tirth, and as you would have understood, I'm speaking against the motion in the House. Between the fights for religion, caste, and communities, we have forgotten about gender equality. Though in some developed countries like the US and the UK, women are treated more like equal to the men. But still, in some developing societies, the society is very backward, and we still possess that old obsolete thinking that women are meant to do all the household works while men are meant to go out and earn the livelihood. But have you ever asked this question to yourself? Why such a big discrimination? Actually, the problem starts from the very root, when a girl child is about to be born in a village. Has anyone known about the banning of the ultrasound scans? Do you remember why was it banned? Let me answer this one for you. The government took this step to ban the ultrasound scans, which used to detect the gender of a baby who was about to be born, so that an end could be put on the evil practices of people in villages who used to do an abortion when they used to get to know that a girl child is about to be born. Now, those were born. They also had a very unpleasant childhood. They were not given the right to go to schools as the boys did, but rather were held back at homes and were supposed to do all the household works. And then were married at an early age of near about 14 when they were not even mature, thus leading to crimes like rapes, sexual assaults, etc., etc., etc. Now, in the married life, these women were also not given the right to go to do work like the men did. As per a report done, it shows that in India, only 15% of women are given the right to go and do the work as they feel like. Now, even after this big of a discrimination, do you ask, why such a big discrimination? Answer is again very simple. Actually, our society has always been a men-dominated society. And thus, we have a fear in ourselves that if we educate the women and give them the right to go and do some work, they will actually one day surpass us. Thus, we held them back. Now, Even after hearing all this, do you think that feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century? Thus, we should show our support to all political leaders like Malala Yousafzai and Savitribai Phule who are fighting for the rights of the woman. On that note, I would like to conclude my speech with a famous quote by Brigham Young stating, "If you educate a man, you educate a man. But if you educate a woman, you educate a generation." Thank you.
Thank you, Tit. We move on to our fourth team, and speaking for the motion is Mitadru Dasgupta. Mitadru, over to you.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you can begin.
Feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. I am Mitadru Dasgupta, and today I will be speaking for the motion. I want all of you to understand the difference between the terms not important and irrelevant. Many of my worthy opponents took feminism as not important in the 21st century, while the motion for the day is irrelevant in the 21st century. Feminism is very important in the 21st century, according to the statistics. More than 80,000 women are subjected to sexual assault every year. Cyber crimes are 35% more against women than men. Yes, women are not getting what they deserve. Women are not in the situation what they should have deserved. But I look at a bigger picture now. I don't feel that this cat and rat race between men and women will help us in any way in the 21st century. Because now we have achieved a higher level of gender community, the LGBTQA plus community. Why shouldn't we fight for them? Why just equalize two binary genders? Why not we try to equalize all the genders, including the binary and non-binary? I feel that this cat and rat race between the men and women and equalizing both of them is very wrong. Rather, what we should do is equalize all the 6 to 7 genders, including the non-binary ones. We should try to equalize and normalize the gender gaps, gender differences between all the genders, the binary and the non-binary. I don't stand for feminism. I don't stand against feminism. I stand for humanitarianism. I stand for the peace of humans. I stand for human welfare. I feel rather than fighting for women, rather than fighting for men and deciding who should be superior or who should be equal, I feel we should look at superiority of human beings. Yes, that is correct. I stand for humanitarianism. On the point of feminism being important and irrelevant, one of my worthy opponents clearly stated that feminism is not at all important because men and women have been subjected to the same crime. I highly disagree with this. Lately, men have been subjected to such crimes, but about this, from the stats of Forbes, BCC, we can find out that no, women have a higher rate of crimes. And just according to the stats, it may look equal because, as one of my worthy opponents said, many of the crimes are not even registered. Many of us don't even know what's happening in the rural belts of India. People might think sati and dowry and child marriage have been completely abolished, but that is completely wrong. Let's take a look at the extreme innerst villages of India. We will find the truth for feminism. There, we can't reach for the idea of gender equality because there itself, the two binary genders are still fighting for superiority. That's why I feel we should look at it from a higher level. We should make people aware that yes, there are more genders than just these two binary genders we keep fighting upon. We should look for the welfare of them together so that we can together bring a difference in the welfare of human beings. And I feel that is what we all are trying to achieve in this panel. One of my worthy opponents said crimes have been decreased. Well, with simple math of decrease of rate of 3.1% and a rise of 7%, we can easily find the result of whether crimes have increased or decreased. And with that note, I would like to conclude my argument. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mitadru. We move on to Anya Mishra, who will be speaking against the motion from Team 4. Anya, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Nowadays, we have this predefined notion that feminism is about pulling down the status of men. But Emma Watson, in one of her speeches, clearly mentioned, if you stand for equality, you're a feminist. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I, Anya Mishra, will speak against the motion. One of my worthy opponents said that we don't have a concrete definition for the word feminism. So why do you need a definition for something so self-explanatory? Let me clarify it for the forum. Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of gender equality, and a feminist is a person who believes in the power of women just as much as they believe in the power of anyone else. In the coming years, women have been given the right to vote, right to education, that makes many people believe that this battle of feminism has been fought and won over. One of my worthy opponents also said that women are being allowed to give the NDA exams. But why? And whose permission do we need to give exams to get into civil and military services? We have conveniently ignored the problems of sexualization of young girls, domestic violence, gender pay gap, birth control, and so on. In the late 70s, when this whole spur or movement of feminism had just begun, feminists like Anna Oakley made direct actions against beauty pageants and women magazines. At that point in time, 1 in 3 men accused of rape were convicted, while the number has fallen down to 1 in 20 men today. Domestic violence on women hasn't decreased either. 2 women are murdered every week by their partners, and 1 in 4 live with domestic violence. Over 40,000 rapes occur annually. One of my fellow opponents also mentioned that the practice of sati has been abolished. But what about those 8233 deaths regarding dowry? Can't that be equalized to sati? As we are talking about rape, let me bring into focus one of the most recent rape cases where an IIT Guwahati guy had raped a girl and was bailed on the grounds of being a future asset for our country. Why wasn't the girl considered a future asset just because she was a woman? My very own domestic help isn't allowed to talk to anybody else until and unless her husband ratifies it. Even if it's out of safety and concern, her right to speech and choice have been curbed. If feminism isn't such a relevant topic today, then why is a girl up club being set up in our own school in 2021 to talk about and make people aware about the upliftment of women and other non-binary genders in every sphere of our society? If feminism isn't such an irrelevant topic today, then why are the former First Lady Michelle Obama, along with certain creators, working on a program called Creators for Change that aims at helping young girls overcome barriers of education and forming empowerment? If feminism is irrelevant today in the 21st century, why is menstrual equality still considered such a hush-hush topic? It shows that approximately 3,300 social media pages aim at spreading awareness about women equality. As a feminist, I would like to end my speech by saying that not only is feminism not irrelevant in the 21st century, we have just begun. Make way and watch us rise. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Anya Mishra speaking against the motion. We move on to team 5, and speaking for the motion is Meher Paul Mehmi. Meher, over to you.
Right. Am I audible?
Yes, Meher. Begin.
So feminism as a movement gets a lot right. Equality for all should not be up for debate. But feminism as an institution has become regressive in many cases. So is feminism still relevant in the 21st century? No. Good morning, everyone. Today, I will be speaking for the motion. The job of first-wave feminism in its address of new rights and responsibilities of a woman was a necessity that is now fulfilled. Equality of opportunity is desirable since it allows the talent of each individual to manifest themselves for the betterment of everyone. And yes, in today's world, we could reach a position where people are treated more fairly still. However, to really explain what I'm getting at, I'd like to introduce an example. The Scandinavian countries. Here, egalitarian measures have been taken further than anywhere else, but the difference between men and women have increased, not decreased. This demonstrates that if men and women are left to make their own choices, equality of outcome will not establish itself. It can be brought about through tyranny, but at the expense of free choice. Second and third wave feminism, however, were and are at the extrapolation of a poor understanding of what first wave feminism was really about. Feminism was not about making man and woman the same. Feminism was about allowing women the chance to prove themselves capable in the competition for goods alongside men. Radical feminism has taken the idea of equality of opportunity and run with it blindly on a postmodernist and Marxist quest for equality of outcome. Radical feminists argue that if men and women were relieved of their social pressures to conform to gender roles, they would, by free choice, occupy all professions in equal proportions. Having observed that the free choice of men and women did not usher in the new era of absolute equality, they have taken the alternate route to fulfilling their goal, which is social gender pressure. The very thing that they first campaigned against, to make men and women occupy roles in equal proportion. This is both anti-women and anti-woman and anti-man. It is an attempt to morph individuals so that they may function in a utopian dream in which the nature of humanity can be overlooked and the perfect human can be created. We've created a system that is even inherently rigged against some women. Let's take the famous example of Megan Fox. Left behind by feminists and not even taken seriously when she tried to tell her stories during the Me Too movement. She said, and I quote, I feel like feminists don't want me to be a part of their group. And what are we talking about then? What is feminism? What is supporting females if there's only certain ones of us that you support? I'll leave it to the chair to evaluate how this is wrong on so many levels. Furthermore, feminism nowadays has come to a point where things it demands and the things women genuinely need in real life show a huge gap. For example, the My Body, My Choice is one of the most recognized slogans of the second wave feminism. Let's zoom in on this. Now, ask yourself this. If it was legal for women to walk around topless in the same way it was for a man, would you do it? Would you choose to walk around in public naked from the waist up on a hot day or sit topless in the park? Would you go into the shops and to buy groceries topless? If not, why not? Walking around topless is legal for women in New York City, but nobody does it. What is needed now is a conversation about how men and women can compete under the same rules without either of them becoming resentful of the other, and a movement towards a consensus that though men and women are different biological beings, each is necessary and each is valuable. With this, I'd like to rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Meher. We move on to Debashni Chakraborty from Team 5, who will be speaking against the motion.
Good morning, Chair. Am I audible and visible?
You are audible, yes.
Whatever you do, don't say the F word. Men don't like it when girls say it. Feminism. Now, ordering at a restaurant may be intimidating, but me, as a human being, wanting the same rights and social conditions as another human being shouldn't. Feminism isn't taking from men, but trying to raise women to the same level. The 21st century prides itself on claiming equality for the sexes politically, socially, and economically. The 20th century gave women in many countries the right to vote, to sit on a jury. But what about sitting on a bus on your way home at night and not constantly worrying about your surroundings? It is undeniable that societies across the world have seen vast improvements in the treatment of women. But is feminism still a necessity in our world of freedom and liberation for women today? Yes, it very much is. Good morning, respected Chair. Today, I would like to debate on why feminism is still very much a requirement in the 21st century. As I debate this motion today, I don't advocate my stance in support of feminism as something that prides me, but instead something that saddens me. It saddens me that we still need feminism and that the journey for equality is such a faraway dream. It saddens me that 1 in 3 women experience physical and or sexual violence, that 50% of women have experienced sexual harassment. It saddens me that 37% of the global workforce only consists of women. It saddens me that 95% of trafficked victims are women and that a woman gets 75 cents for every dollar a man earns. And it angers me that while deeply rooted misogyny asserts its dominance in our daily lives, the need for feminism is still questioned. The issue underpinning gender-based violence is the idea that women are placed in an inferior position to men. Whether this be rooted in physical strength or intellectual superiority, centuries past have shown that women are placed below men in the social hierarchy. So that verbal, physical, and emotional abuse on women is somehow justifiable. Such a power imbalance between men and women has shattering consequences and affirms that feminism is timelessly important. The only way to reassert female power within society is for a movement to embody the sense of defiance that is needed against the status quo. And that's why feminism is still a necessity today. Today's feminist movement is more diverse than ever before. Feminism has become more attentive to wider range of experiences of those oppressed by gender norms and stereotypes, including men, non-binary, and trans people. It's also greater awareness of the way that racism, anti-religious hatred, disabilism, and homophobia work alongside sexism, creating complex forms of prejudice and oppression. It's not so much that feminism has moved beyond sexism. Feminism thus stands as a movement that aims to produce the idealistic, utopian, equal society for not just but all minorities that have faced injustice in centuries past and today. Denouncing feminism denounces oppressed communities and denies them a platform to advocate their stance. While my oppositions claim that all women are already empowered, liberated, and femme fatale, I like to bring up how being female is fatal. Every year, over 2 lakh girls are killed in India before they can even step out into the world, and thousands of women die due to dowry harassment. In many Indian households, males and females are treated differently. While boys are nurtured, girls are neglected. A report suggests that India would be 27% richer if there were higher employment rates for women. In India, females only make up 11.2% of board members in firms, which is less than the global average. Though the constitution considers us to be equal, society doesn't. When all of us question the relevance of feminism, we question the relevance of us all and our struggles in societies today. Girls don't want a fundamentalist society where male dominance is simply replaced by females. Girls want to have fun, the mental right. Thank you.
Thank you, Devashni. That was Team 5. Speaking for the motion was Meher Paul Mehmi, followed by Devashni Chakraborty speaking against the motion. We move on to Team 6, and speaking for the motion is Mainak Biswas. Mainak, over to you.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, Mainak, you can begin.
Thank you. Let me begin with a question. How do you think that you came to exist? The answer is one's mother. How do you cope when you suffer through depression or anxiety? You talk to your elder. You pray when you go to a temple? A goddess. So now let me ask you the question which has been debated upon today. These women who gift us our existence, our minds, our soul, are they getting the credit and the treatment that they deserve in this 21st century? The key here is 21st century. Yes, I hear the opposition, but the answer is yes, ladies and gentlemen. And as a result, I believe that the term feminism has lost meaning or has rather become irrelevant in this century. A very good morning to one and all present here. This is Mainak Biswas, and today I'll be saying that feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. To set our conception correct, let me begin with the definition of a feminist. He or she is one who believes in the strength and power of women, just as one believes in the power of anything else. Feminism, however, on the other hand, is not about making women strong. Women are already strong. It is about changing the conception with which the world perceives the strength of a woman. Although feminism has helped women make great strides in the last 150 years, the ideology is irrelevant and illogical in the 21st century since it is resulting in much higher divorce rates. In a prospective study of feminism waves, phases, issues, and critical analysis, the author cites various sources to prove that 58% of all careers are female. The continued insistence that women should behave like men and that they should leave their own charm, persona, and personality behind themselves to try and follow in their same footsteps is completely illogical, because this not only affects the meaning of the word itself, feminism, but it also has a negative effect on the child, because eventually this results in single motherhood. And living in a country where children are the future of our nation, I do not feel that living without a father and growing up without a father is very advantageous to that child. Moving on to my next construct. Further widening the spectrum on the divorce problem, something is given to women by nature that men do not possess. Be a wife, a mother. Why deny it? What is wrong with it? If a man opens the door for a woman or pays the bill in a restaurant instead of a woman, then what is wrong with it if the woman wants it? Where is the inequality? Where is the oppression? This proves nothing but the fact that gender inequality has been established and that the tool that has been used for this establishment is no longer required. To end my speech, I would like to say that yes, I do hear the opposition about the need for feminism. And the proposition at not even a single point is denying that feminism was at one time needed. What is being proved is that the proposition does not stand against feminism, but feminism, we believe, has served its job, and hence it is no longer required or irrelevant in this century. As rightly said by David Fernhead, life is not a competition between men and women. It is a collaboration, and a beautiful one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mainak. We move on to Arpita Roy from the very same team, Team 6, who will be speaking against the motion. Arpita, over to you.
Gender equality starts with gender equity, and we fail to acknowledge this fact. Or else, why would we call God as He and desire only for a male child? Good morning, everyone. Today, I will be speaking against the motion that feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. The only problem I have with this motion is the fact that it claims that every single aspect of feminism is irrelevant in this century. The opposition today does not deny the existence of pseudo-feminism in some parts of the world, but we also say that the advantages of this concept of feminism overweighs the latter. Feminism is a concept which equalizes men and women in every sphere, and it is one of the most needed steps to bring into light the struggles faced by women even after 70 years of the Indian independence. In India, although sati has been banned, but still, can we say that women have achieved gender equality? A practice like Kanyadan literally treats women as objects which can be passed down from one person to another. Sadly, this proves that India is still patriarchal and is male dominated in nature. Moving on, I would like to address a misconception which states that feminism does not foster humanism. I believe that every single humanist is intrinsically a feminist, because when we speak of gender equality, it can only be achieved if we acknowledge the fact that the starting point for men and women in the society is still different. Say, for example, if a poor girl from a very poor family starts earning, gets a good job, then wouldn't it benefit the whole family and fight poverty to a great extent? Moving on to my next constructive, I would like to say that we are proud to live in the so-called modern 21st century where FGM takes place against innocent girls. A girl is raped every 8 minutes in India. Dowry deaths occur every day, and every week we lose a woman because of domestic violence. Is this what we mean by gender equality? Moving on, I would like to state that feminism is an umbrella which includes trans women as well, thereby fostering inclusivity. Say, for example, Meera Singhania Rehani, who is a trans woman and also a proud feminist. And this was just one. There are many brilliant examples out there. Feminism not only helps women, but also helps men. Because when the society asks men to cry and not be vulnerable, feminist tells them that yes, you are also equal to women and you have the right to express your emotions and be vulnerable. There are great men in the society who are not ashamed to change their baby's diaper or to help their wife to cook food. And I would not call these men as heroes. I want this kind of men to be normalized in the society. Moving on, I would also like to state that both men and women face abuse in the society. But no one can deny that the rate in which a woman faces abuse is dishearteningly high. And if somebody is using feminism in a wrong way or is fostering pseudo-feminism, the fault is on their part, not on the part of the concept of feminism, which is brilliant. Therefore, I rest my case, but certainly not my stance. Thank you.
Thank you, Arpita. That was Arpita Roy from Team 6 speaking against the motion. We move on to Team 7 and we have Pranav Kumar Jha speaking for the motion. Pranav, over to you.
How many of us present here are not aware of the incident which happened with a Zomato delivery man, Kamaraj, in Bengaluru recently? A very good morning to the Honorable Chair and the entire virtual audience present here. I am Pranav Kumar Jha, and today we are talking about the question, is feminism irrelevant in the 21st century? And here,
Literary competition, all India, ASISC.
I request everyone to mute yourself, please. Pranav, sorry about that. You can begin again.
okay. How many of us present here are not aware of the incident which happened with the Zomato delivery man Kamaraj in Bengaluru recently? A very good morning to the Honorable Chair and the entire virtual audience. Feminism irrelevant in the 21st century, and here, a person who believes in the power of women just as much as they believe in the power of anyone else. The recent case of feminism came from Bengaluru, where a woman accused the Zomato delivery person of wrongfully assaulting her just because she asked him that why her order was late. But I would ask my worthy opponents and the audience that what was the ultimate result? The woman was booked by the police for wrongful restraint, assault, intentional insult, and criminal intimidation based on a complaint by the delivery man. In this case, what according to you was the reason? Of course, being a woman complained about another man for her assault, and she received the support from all over the country, even after the complaint from the delivery man. This was a very sad case because the woman had used feminism just for gaining popularity. Feminism is seeking equality among gender roles rather than dominance over one another. The 21st century prides itself on claiming equality for the genders, politically, socially, and economically. But in this case, feminism was used wrongly. Seriously, are we still debating on feminism in the 21st century? The need of the hour is humanism and to build a strong nation. The Indian law structure has always been in support of the woman, but now feminism has exceeded its limits by using it to establish the dominance of women over men. Gender inequality was something that we spoke centuries ago. It was once liberating and empowering to be a feminist because it showed strength to stand up for what you believe in. But the extremity of the issue has got us questioning if feminism is still empowering women. My worthy opponents, women and men are judged by their merits and not by their gender. Today, there are thousands of co-education schools and various work spheres where men and women are considered to be equal. How many of us are not aware about the success of women like Arundhati Bhattacharya, the chairperson of the State Bank of India, and Muniba Mazari, the Iron Lady of Pakistan? Today, men and women team up to run most urban families. I would like to question the audience that aren't your families run by both the males and females of your families? Women have become empowered over time. They are at par with the men at every domain. Modern feminists advocate for the overthrow of the patriarchy, but they go about it in all wrong ways. Masculinity is under attack. There are other pressing issues that require attention, like racial intolerance, caste, and religion that are often overshadowed by commercialized version of feminism. Feminism is being misused by various interest groups to further their own agendas rather than true welfare of women or achieving gender equality. 21st century has coined terms like fake feminism and feminazi. Aren't these methods wrong? Give it a thought. With this, I rest my case, but not my stance. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav. That was Pranav Kumar Jha from Team 7. And judges, kindly take note that I had to ask Pranav to begin again because there was some disturbance and he had stopped. He could not continue. With that, I move on to Rinika Datta from the very same team, Team 7, speaking against the motion. Rinika, over to you.
I came across the newspaper headlines a few weeks back that Bollywood actress Deepika Padukone was rejected from a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film, Baiju Bawda, as she asked for equal pay as her male counterpart. Can you believe even today, educated and highly successful women in limelight don't have equal rights as men? And this is not only in India, but it's a global phenomenon. Good morning, Honorable Chair, virtual audience, and my worthy opponents. Today, I, Rinika Datta, will be speaking against the motion, Feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century. Feminism is the belief that men and women should have. Worthy opponents may argue for the fact that feminism is irrelevant since girls are getting equal education and opportunities. It is still very relevant, not only in the 21st century, but perhaps in the times to come. In India, women enjoyed equal rights as men during the early Vedic age. Thereafter, the society gradually started changing to a male-dominated one, and the trend continues to be the same even today. Women globally are almost everywhere treated as inferior beings to men, be it at home or at the workplace. Women are thought to be
here that something is the 21st century. When looking at relevance and irrelevance in such a case, it is necessary to note that this something is not being spoken about or related to in a day-to-day or regular basis. We know very well that we look at all situations and things in shades of gray, and nothing can be looked in absolute black or white. Therefore, it would be only fair to say the position of women today is much improved vis-a-vis what it was centuries ago. When looking at relevance, it is important to take the past into consideration. Half a century ago, the women of America launched a liberation movement for women equality and freedom. This created a vision for women and girls all around the globe. But this was 50 years ago. We're in the 21st century now. The participation of women in social and economic activities is considered mandatory to build a proper democratic environment. Feminism, as we know it today, is irrelevant in the 21st century. You can't go out and protest on the streets and think that you will make a difference anymore. No, you won't. We must reimagine what we think is feminism. There is no relevance for aggressive movement in today's world. Conviction will always stand true and much more effective. From fighting the pandemic to re-engineering American politics, there are so many influential women, such as the New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, the American Vice President Kamala Harris, voting rights advocate Stacey Abrams, just to name a few. The list could go on and on and on. Here, advocating for power for girls is no longer a trend. It's an established rule of the game. And this raises the question, do we really need an aggressive movement for a fact so well established? A wise woman wishes to be no one's enemy, but she also refuses to be a victim. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhani. Now we move on to the last speaker against the motion from Team 8, Rishita Dev. Rishita? Rishita, you are not audible. You are visible, but you are not audible. Would you check your audio? No, dear. Yet not. Judges, we need to give her a few seconds to check on her audio. Try and speak again and let's see, Rishita, if you are audible. Yes, please, you can join back. Judges, we need to wait for a few seconds till Rishita joins us back. She has some problem with the audio. I would let Rishita join us, and in the meantime, I would just like to remind Ruhin and Ritisha from team 1 as per protocol. I will be coming back to you after Rishita has spoken, and you will be summing up, but this time you get 2 minutes. Each one of you, you get 2 minutes.
Ma'am, am I audible now?
You are, Rishita. You can begin.
Extremely sorry for the
No, that's perfectly all right. Please continue. Begin.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, should I just start?
Begin, Rishita.
I'm sure if there's something that I can't find the words to say, I know that there will be a man around to save the day. And that was sarcasm, in case you needed it mansplained. A very good morning to one and all present here. I am Rishita Dev, a very proud feminist, and I stand against today's motion. Let's study the entire picture properly. What is feminism? Feminism is a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation and oppression. In its true sense, means gender inequality. It's the belief that there should be social, economic, and political equality for all sexes. Malala once said, "We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back." But why is this movement so important? While it essentially means achieving equality for both men and women and every gender, it is still important to realize that women experience more inequalities than men. It's not about demeaning men or declaring them inferior. It's based on women having power over themselves rather than having power over any other gender. Although more and more people are beginning to understand the true definition of feminism and openly identifying with it, there has always been a negative stigma attached to it. India ranks very poorly in all sorts and parameters of gender indices. Talk about gender inequality, sex ratio, the gap on pay scales, percentage of workforce. We have surely painted a very grim picture out of these. Women's representation is starkly revealed by the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index 2021, where it has slipped 26 places, ranking 140 among 156 countries. Women earn 1 rupee for every 19 earned by men, as stated by the 2021 Pay Scale report. Crime against women in our own capital has increased 63.3% in the first 6 months of 2021 in comparison to 2020 itself. Data shared by the Delhi police itself stated this. Oh, and as far as men go, well, they aren't walking away scot-free from this discrimination fest known as the modern society. Men are far more likely to be accused of sex crimes they didn't even commit against women, and more likely to be mocked and laughed at if they are victims of sexual assault and talk about mental health. Even when we come to the LGBTQ community, they face higher rates of poverty, stigma, and marginalization, which put them at a greater risk for sexual assault. Feminism fights all of this and will continue to fight all that. But allow me to list a few more reasons. We need feminism because we need to rid women of male dominance. We need it because we need to ensure women are regardless of their career choices. We need it to break menstruation taboos. We need it to end unfounded stereotypes about gender roles, to end the idea that men need to be stronger than women, to stop telling women how to dress. We need feminism because female infanticide still exists. We need it because we top the military ranking in the world, and we have a very good rank. But we also top the list of the most unsafe country for women. In a country where we have so many goddesses, we also lead in hate crime against women. And for a developing country, we still have a very ancient mentality. We need feminism because our world isn't changing, but the way we perceive it is. And that being said, I rest my case, but I do not rest my stance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishita. Now I come back to team 1, to Ruhin Talukdar, who is going to sum up. And Ruhin, you have 2 minutes. Over to you, Ruhin.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Ruhin, you are audible. You can begin.
It was a pleasure to listen to everyone's arguments here. I had a really great time. Very good points put forward by many people here. Well, I would still like to refute a certain accusations and claims people made here. You guys said that women die of domestic violence and the rate of it is more than men do. And I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. But can we be applied the same logic to pseudo-feminism and feminism? I think that pseudo-feminism happens in way more ratio than compared to actual proper feminism. And I would go so far as to say that pseudo-feminism is actually practiced more than actual feminism. So feminism itself, the ideology, is not relevant here in this case. Another point which I would like to say, my opposition mentioned that feminism being irrelevant is never, what I want to say is that it's never going to go away. Everyone's going to be prejudiced and, we're going to need feminism all the time. And right after you said that it's never going to go away, you said that it's because of prejudice. If you say that if you are saying that it's never going to go away, aren't you prejudiced against it? Why would you think that, this inequality is not going to go away? It will. It's the 21st century. We still have time. There's a lot of scope for change and etc. My group member and team opponent, Ritisha, stated, give an example from a terrorist group. Why are you clubbing together the whole world along with a terrorist group whose principles are far from moral? Yeah, so I don't think that is valid in this situation. So in the end, I would just like to remind all of you again that feminism is irrelevant in the 21st century and equality has come and is here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruhin. I move on to Ritisha Khan from team 1, who will be summing up. Yes, and Ritisha, you have 2 minutes. Bell will be rung at the end of 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. When one woman commits a mistake, feminism is blamed. But when 98 men commit crimes against women, it's always not all men. Feminism is a framework for gender fluidity. As also stated by Emma Watson, who claims herself to be a feminist, that feminism is equality. And to quote her to support one's views against feminism is very funny. Let me remind you again, feminism is not about putting other genders down. It is about fighting for equality. If 87 registered rape cases daily don't show you that the crime rates of women are prevalent or not, then you're clearly not understanding the gravity of the problem. One also stated that there are 40,000 rape cases annually, but the number is actually much higher than that. It is 405,861 registered cases annually. The fact that even though the egalitarian measures that has been taken up are in the very developed countries, and there's still differences between the genders, rather shows us that mentality of inequality overpowers legal steps. Even though it is legal for women to walk topless in New York, they don't do it because women are raped, shamed, even when they're wearing clothes that cover their whole body. It is because even in a kurta, a woman is not safe. And that shows exactly why feminism is relevant. I'm repeating again, why are we categorizing radical feminism and pseudo-feminism in the same category? With feminism, pseudo means sham. If we know that simple definition, we would not use it to justify why feminism is bad. One stated if a man to pay a bill in a restaurant, what's wrong with it? Nothing. But why should the waiter or waitress assume that the woman is not paying and that they need to give the bill to the man? The High Court of Chhattisgarh judged that if it's not rape, yes, If it's not, if a man commits rape against a woman in a marital relationship, it is okay. How does that law support women? Unless we completely eradicate this problem of gender pay gap, domestic violence, feminism is still relevant and it needs to stay.
Thank you. With that, we come to the end of a very, very exciting round of debate. And it's always a pleasure to listen to the young minds. Now, could I request our three judges? I would like to begin with Ms. Priti Roy Chaudhary. Ma'am, could you please share your valuable opinion with us?
Thank you so much, ma'am. And really, it's been a morning of a great experience for me, especially because of the motion and the entire debate. And I love debates because it actually fosters critical thinking. And that's the basis for any educated and progressive society. So I guess the future is very bright when I see all these 16 young minds put forth such compelling arguments. And I was particularly curious because at face value, the topic seemed rather simple and you could easily take sides. And, it can definitely arouse that kind of, bias that, calling feminism irrelevant in the 21st century. So I was very, very curious to know how the proposition would actually place their arguments. And I must say, all of you did a wonderful job because you gave very original perspectives on the issue. You kind of went into the, you decoded the motion, and I was very, very happy. It's really a tight competition as far as I am concerned because there are a lot of similar totals here. But congratulations to all the participants. You really came through very well. Your arguments were very well supported by evidence. That is so important in a debate. And well done. And thank you so much. Also to the organizing school. I mean, it is difficult to do something like this on the online medium, and it's just went off seamlessly. Thank you so much. Been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your encouraging words. And I agree with you. It must have been a tough work for you, the judges. I move on to my next judge, Ma'am Anushwa Ghosh. Ma'am, if we could have a few words from you.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, as Ms. Rajodhari has just said, you all were amazing. My first point to each and every participant over here. Doesn't matter whatever the result is, that it is a question of tabulation. But I'm sure, well, we did not get a chance to interact, we judges, but I'm sure each one of us would agree that it was not an easy job to, actually to mark your. It was very well presented, and each one of you, according to me, is a winner. So you can take it. Yeah, and I will give you points, like why exactly I'm saying it's nothing arbitrary. It's true. Because today you have faced a challenge which has taught you to solve problems. So, it is your first step towards problem solving, which you will see in future how it will impact your life. You have learned to speak innovatively, your innovative ideas have come up to yourself. You have learned to link between your words, your ideas, and, you have tried to make your concepts so very clear. Children, each one of you have really been very good listeners. I could see, some of you, as you were on your screen, the way attentively you were trying to listen to your co-speakers. So these things are learnings for our lifetime. So a debate actually enhances us to become a better individual. We become a better team worker. We learn to listen, we learn to note, and we learn to, interact accordingly. So very well done. But a few tips from my end. When you are at a debate, you definitely need to take care of your research.
and you need to be prompt on making slight changes and avoid repetition of the same points which your co-speakers are speaking about. Of course, you are only in, most of you are from 9th or 10th, so it's just the beginning. All right, so you have miles to go ahead, and very well done. All my best wishes to all of you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the organizers to have given me this opportunity to be a part of this fantastic debate session. You know, it was a wonderful Saturday morning for me, I must say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. I move on to our third judge, Sangeeta Ghosh, ma'am. Ma'am, if you can share your opinion with us.
Definitely. Thank you, Mrs. Shunglu, Mrs. Banerjee, Ms. Mitra, Arnav sir, and everyone from Sri Sri Academy, and also the Literary Committee of ASISC of West Bengal and Northeastern states to invite me today for this event. And I must say that I was very impressed by the quality of speeches I heard this morning. And it was really difficult to judge because all the participants were extraordinarily good. And I think it must have been equally difficult for the other two judges as well to choose the winner. And I definitely do applaud you for your in-depth research, and that too in such a short span of time. I believe you just got 1 hour in the morning. And I also do acknowledge that all of you were able to think on your feet and could deliver such well-articulated speeches. And I appreciate the use of evidence, your intellectual sophistication, and your passion in some of your speeches. And that actually adds to the brownie points. And I also appreciate that you did not get stuck on the semantics of the motion. And you tried to, make an approach in the context of a wider real world discussion. So that is what I really appreciate. But maybe a few suggestions from my end. A little more relevance to current affairs would have been appreciated. I was actually waiting to hear from someone about the Afghanistan crisis. You could have actually brought that in. And the Taliban remains deeply misogynistic, and the Afghan women continue to be excluded from the decision-making process and the lack of access to leadership roles. So feminism, I think, needs to play a crucial role in paving the way forward for Afghanistan and to adopt a long-lasting peace. So I was actually waiting to hear about that. But anyway, and a few more points. If you could engage the audience with some personal snippets. I think I got that from Anya Mishra, who spoke about her house help. So actually these kinds of snippets makes the speech more attractive. And if you can add some elements of humor, even though the topic is very serious, I understand. But humor is an excellent medium to connect to the audience. So probably you might, make a try the next time. And whatever is the final verdict, I want you to know that all of you are winners. And if it's not this time, definitely will be the next time. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am, for those inspiring words. We are very proud to have in our midst Mr. Ranjan Mitter, Secretary of ASISC. Sir, we would definitely like to hear a few words from you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's been a lovely morning for me. First of all, that's what I'd like to say, along with the judges. I started with Ruhin first. I was a bit late in joining, and then Ritisha and everybody else. And it's been a wonderful session. As was said, our young minds give us a lot of hope in the future of the country. these days, as I age, I realize that not just my father's and my grandfather's generation, we too have failed the country. In fact, India continues to be a country that will arrive. It hasn't yet arrived. We are celebrating already 75 years of our independence. There are so many things done and so many things yet to be done. The COVID-19 pandemic, in fact, has showed us so many fissures, our creaking health system, amongst other things. Nevertheless, today's morning gave me a lot of hope, and I just hope some of these minds stay on and serve and help the country in future so that India can rise and deliver on its real potential. As I reflect, I thought that 1 year ago, I couldn't have been in a similar session and students similarly eloquent. This 1 year has taught all of us, and most particularly our young people, how to be online and how to deliver stuff online and in such an effective way. In fact, our lives have changed inexorably. It won't ever get back possibly to what used to be. But this speaks volumes, just a year and a half, and so much of change. So anyway, two little things I'd like to add. One is, of course, all of you were excellent, and as the judges have already told you, I don't need to add my 2-penny bit. But what I do need to add is that this set of competitions, it's not just debating, it's also declamation, it's also other categories. These are happening over the years. In fact, ASISC is now virtually, many years old. It started in the 50s under the guidance of the gentleman whose name is on our signboard today, Dr. George Hess. Very venerated gentleman who not only created or helped create this organization, its Association of Schools, but nurtured it through the years and brought it to its present strength. We today have about 1,600 schools in India, which is by no measure a small achievement, because there are in all about 2,600 schools affiliated to the Council for Indian School Certificate Examinations, and 1,600 and more of that is really not small. So in truth, we extend from Arunachal to Gujarat and from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So that's the extent of the spread of the ASIC schools. And therefore, I wish that of course, there will be some people who will be going on to the nationals. And what, a competition that will be, I can well imagine. The last one I attended, of course, was a physical one. That happened in 2019. We didn't hold any last year. And I'm really looking forward that the East and the Northeast gives a very spirited fight to all the other regions of India, and there are many, and you really come out triumphant, because we do still believe, rightly or not so rightly, that we breed a lot of thinking minds out here. We, because this part of the country was always alluvial soil and what have you, very nice climate and a very generous kind of harvest. We're all a little bit more of the thinking type, which means we work usually physically less hard than many of our counterparts in India, but we at least would like to believe that we think more. So the proof of it will lie in a few weeks from now, when a few of you will go up to the nationals, and hopefully you will give a very good account of yourselves. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the judges, particularly, who've taken time out this morning. I'd like to thank the organizers of both the zonal and the regional round, because it's not easy. The sheer logistics of this whole thing is difficult, particularly because it's online. Online delivery of a debate is one thing. Online organization of an event like this is hugely more difficult. And it has been done commendably by our schools and by our organizers, the principals in particular, assisted by, I'm sure, their teachers. And it's been what a lovely round. I mean, children have responded so quickly. We have had so many people enrolling at such short notice. Makes me very, very proud indeed. Thank you one and all once again for gifting all of us such a lovely morning and giving us hope in the short term to prepare for the nationals. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so very much, sir. I'm certain that your message has been conveyed loud and clear to each and every participant about the importance of debate. I would request everyone now to please stand up for the national anthem. One announcement for everyone before we log off. The results will be declared by Monday morning, and it will be shared in the official WhatsApp group.